everyone! Welcome back and thank you so much for joining me. Today we are making Salmon En Croute, which translates to salmon in a crust. Alright, so let's start with our ingredients. We have spinach for today, but what I really like to use is any type of green mixture with Mizuna. I find that it's a little bit more mild than spinach because you can really taste the spinach in this dish. I just happened to use spinach today because it's what I had on hand. Then we have onions, garlic, leeks, one of my personal favorites, fontina cheese, dried oregano, salt and pepper, sun-dried tomatoes, our salmon, almond milk, and chicken broth with a little bit of lemon juice. And normally for the chicken broth with lemon juice, I use white wine. Again, I didn't have any white wine in hand this time, so I decided to use this mixture as my substitute. Let's get started. The first thing that I'm going to do is add onions to about a tablespoon of olive oil that's already been heating up a little bit in my pan and give it a quick stir. I'm also going to add a little bit of butter because it just gives that rich flavor when you have olive oil and butter together. After my onions have cooked down a little bit, I'm gonna go ahead and add my garlic. You don't want to cook this for too long because you don't want your garlic to burn. But make sure you give it a little bit of a stir so that everything is fully incorporated. After that, you'll want to go ahead and add your spinach or whatever green mixture you have and let those wilt in the pan. When they have fully wilted and everything is cooked through, that's when you know you're finished with this part of the recipe. After that, I'm going to go ahead and remove that mixture from the pan, add a little bit more olive oil and butter, and begin to cook my leeks. After your leeks have been cooking for about 5 to 6 minutes, this is when you want to add that chicken broth lemon juice combination and sun-dried tomatoes. After that, let all of your ingredients cook together for about 3 to 4 minutes until the olive oil and butter has soaked into the leeks and all your other ingredients. And then that's when you can add your milk, and you're gonna go ahead and add in your tablespoon of flour. Make sure you mix in your flour very well. As you can see here, that's why I'm kind of using the flat side of my spoon to make sure the flour is really incorporated, because this is what's going to give your sauce the thickness you see here. So after we give it a little stir, we're ready to set this aside and let it cool before adding in our fontina cheese. Now, if you have a food processor, you can use the food processor for this step. I just really wanted to use the Ninja because it's small and compact, and I didn't feel like getting out my food processor for this little tiny step. But if you have a smaller one, I would suggest using a food processor. So we're going to pulse that. Don't let it blend fully, just pulse it so that you get big chunks and everything incorporates a little bit at a time. All right, we've almost made it to the end. Now is the second to last part, which is assembling the salmon en croute. First, you'll want to take your greens and onions and garlic, that whole mixture we made first, and spread it out evenly over your phyllo dough. Go ahead and prepare your phyllo dough and get it ready for assembly. I pulled mine out a little bit on each side so that I could make sure the salmon would fit nice and snug inside the dough without any overflow. Then take your salmon. I've already sprinkled my salt and pepper on the salmon. This is a very important step because if you don't sprinkle salt and pepper on your salmon, it's going to come out really bland. And then transfer the salmon to the mixture on top of the dough, and lastly add in that fontina cheese and leek mixture that you just made in the final step to the top of the salmon. This last piece can be a little bit tricky. But what you'll have to do is bring up each side of the phyllo dough and kind of wrap it around your salmon, making sure that there aren't any holes or gaps. You don't want any of that mixture to fall out during the baking process. So just pull up each side, and then when you get to the last flap or the last side, pull it up over 3/4 of the salmon and just kind of tuck it into the rest of the dough. Roll it up a little bit so that it's nice and sealed, and then you're ready to bake. All right, so here's our finished product, Salmon En Croute. The layers are what makes everything come together. Big thanks to Jamie Oliver for inspiring me to make my very own version of Salmon En Croute. Enjoy! Comment below and please subscribe to my channel if you liked what you saw. See you next time.